We'll call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals. Would you please stand for the pledge? Jerry, would you lead us in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Here.
Here.
Gary Sarkane.
Here.
Joe Machoto.
Here.
William Harper.
Here.
Renee Curtis. Here. Zane Cantrell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
You have the minutes of our last meeting. Are there any additions, changes to the minutes?
Move it be approved, Mr. Chair.
Have a motion that be approved. Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. They are approved. Let me welcome each of you here today. Explain a little, in case this is your first time to be at the Board of Zoning and Appeals. We'll first have a report from our staff about each item that's given to us here to consider today. There may be some questions after that from our board. But then those of you who are asking for a change will be asked to come up to the podium, give us your name and any general information that you'd like to share other than what we already have. Following that, we will have a public hearing on each item before we vote on it. The first item we have before us is a request by Cole Preston Rich, who is requesting a special exemption for an accessory dwelling and also for a setback, yard setback. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application BZA 2024 involves the property located at 7359 Halls Hill Pike. They are seeking special exception approval for an accessory dwelling unit that does not meet the design standards for ADUs and variance relief of 17 feet from the front yard setback requirement of 40 feet for property in the RM zone. This is an 8.84 acre property, and therefore to establish an accessory dwelling unit, the applicant property owner must apply for special exception approval. And in that request, he is also seeking the variance relief, as it is their desire to place the mobile home towards the western boundary of the property. And since the property's that shallow at that location, he needs a 17-foot variance, so he would provide a 23-foot front yard setback from Halls Hill Pike. The applicant plans to utilize the existing drainage system. Aerial imagery from 2000 indicates that there was a single wide located at that place on the property. However, it's been removed since early 2000s and has its time removed from the site has caused it to lose any kind of grandfathering status to be replaced. So the applicant is here before you tonight seeking approval. We have received calls with some concerns regarding the property. There is some work being done on the property, and the neighbors have indicated, we have received photos that the property's holding water. And this is the plot plan, so you see the location of the proposed dwelling unit. The property owner will reside in this dwelling unit, and there's an existing house towards the other end of the property. And according to the county engineer, I forwarded the engineer the photos that showed the standing water. He indicated that there's a depression in the middle of the site, and that's probably why it's holding water. He is concerned and recommends that the applicant contact TDEC to have an inspection to ensure that that any septic soils haven't been destroyed. Now, the location that the applicant is proposing to place the single wide is outside of any kind of depression and above the base flood elevation. And that concludes our presentation.
Any questions at this point?
That's the applicant. That's the applicant.
Hold on just a minute. I'm talking to the board here. Board, do you have any questions so far of this? Okay. Who's representing this request? If you'll come up to the podium, please.
I'm sorry, I've never been to one of these before in my life. I just don't know what I'm doing. I can do whatever the state asks me to do, what I'm trying to do. Yeah, you get your opportunity to tell what you want us to be doing unless there's voting and everything. Come on up. I was hoping that when they started last time.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's okay. To the podium right here. See? Okay. Give us your name.
My name's Dustin Rich. That's my son, Cole Rich. I've never been up here before, I'm glad y'all are moving very fast, but I don't have any paperwork. I've got a whole bunch of paperwork, but I don't have anything of it laid out, and then we'd be the first case. So I just don't know how this works. You know, I don't, and if I'd like to just let me see how it works and let me put my stuff together where I can represent you at later on at this time, today. Not, is there a problem? Huh? Yes, that's what I'm wanting to do with my son. I mean, it's hard enough for kids to get ahead these days, and I figure that would be a good thing to help him right there to get started. I mean, that's what I'm wanting to do. There was a house there. I've got a whole bunch of paperwork back there that I did not have time to get put together that shows where, yes, it was there before. I haven't had no time. I walked in here and then I'm the first one up. I just have none of that paperwork ready.
I understand what he's saying. Can we just move this to the heel of the calendar, just of the agenda? Let him go third and we'll instead of third.
'Cause I don't know what I'm doing right here. You know, I really don't.
Maybe an extra 15 minutes to give him.
Yeah. Give me
some
time where I can represent it. I mean, 'cause
Sure. Typically, at this point of the meeting, staff will give a presentation, and then the applicant will get up and state what they're requesting, and if there's anything that they would like to add to the staff's presentation. And then the board would ask any questions of the applicant if the applicant has any questions. And at that time, the applicant can return to their seat. And then they open it up for a public hearing for anybody who wishes to speak in favor or against the application. Once that period is done, if anyone desires to speak, they close the public hearing. And then there will be further discussion and potentially a motion made.
I kind of understand what you're saying, but I just walked in. My case is being, this is my son. Yes, it is. You know, I've got a lot of stuff right here. You know, this is my son.
I got a question for him, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. For what you're asking for is the easement, the setbacks and stuff, a variance. I've got a problem because it's self-inflicted, in my opinion, where you're asking to do it. Would you be willing to actually relocate the location that you're wanting to put the structure? That way you won't have to have a variance?
Yes. I was just wanting to put it up there as further away as I could. You know, yes, I'm willing to do whatever. You know, because they'd already told me I could do that and I could do it, but I was hoping to keep it away from each other. You go out in the country and you want to stay away from each other if you're out in the country. He's grown up in the country. I was too.
If you go back and relocate this, Daniel, you correct me if I'm wrong, but if you go back and relocate and not have to have the variance, you don't have to be back up here, correct?
That's correct. I mean, we don't know where the location of the septic lines are, and according to the engineer, he's indicated that there is a depression towards the middle of the property, but there looks to be ample area to place it in a compliant manner. However, you know, that's dependent on where the septic lines are. We see where the septic tank is that used to be located there, but we don't know where the septic lines are.
Right. I think if he goes back and works with staff and get their guidance, I mean, I think you can take care of the situation and remedy the request that you're having to do, in my opinion.
If this, the septic tank doesn't work, this goes nowhere. This stops right here, regardless.
That'd be fine with me.
Are you the owner of the land? Make this clear. Are you the owner of the land?
He is now.
Okay. Why are you speaking?
But this is my son.
Okay, let your son do the speaking, okay? Go ahead. You have any other information you want to share with us?
Can you tell us about the
Have you had
digging?
the inspection of the septic tank line to make sure that this is going to work? Have you done that? Were you advised to do that before you came here? Our staff did. Jerry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Can you tell us about the digging and things that are there now? What's going on that property at the moment?
They told me I could use what was existing, and so I thought, well, okay, if I have to, I'll put it down there where they say it, but I'll have to pump. I'll have to put another tank in to pump it up to the existing tank. But if I could put it where it was before, I wouldn't have to do that. And
But
that's
why are you bulldozing a great deal of that land?
bulldozer that was hauled in off of the water line where they're putting a new water line on Halls Hill Pike, and I told them I would take that dirt to just to where I could fill in around stuff. I didn't know I haven't bulldozed anything.
Okay, that's what we didn't know. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request.
I've got a lot more stuff. It just caught me off guard right here, y'all.
You'll come forward to the podium. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jeff Burns. I live at 7247 Halls Hill Pike, which is about 150 feet north of the property in question. You see the property directly to the northeast. There's a small 2-acre plot, and then the plot further north of that is mine. In addition to that, I own the property at 7326 Halls Hill Pike, which is the parcel just across the road. So I certainly sympathize with the Rich family and trying to get a good start for their son. However, I've got some concerns about this proposal and want to let the board know that I'm opposed to granting this exception. The reasons are, number one, as the staff findings noted, this does not meet the minimum 1-acre size for an ADU. This parcel, I looked at the GIS website, and this parcel is probably the smallest one for a mile in either direction on Halls Hill Pike. And to my knowledge, there are no other ADUs present there, so it seems to be inconsistent or incompatible with the current use in the area. Second point, again, the 23-foot distance to the road also seems to be incompatible with other buildings along the road. The only exception I know of is the old Halls Hill store, which is over 100 years old. Everything else seems to be set way back. And also, I don't know that being 7 or 8 steps from a road where people routinely drive 50 or 60 miles an hour is a good thing from a safety standpoint. Finally, if the board does find that an ADU is permissible here, I'd request them to take a look at the size. My understanding of the zoning ordinance is ADU needs to be smaller in terms of square foot than the primary unit. In this case, the proposed ADU is 11 or 1,200 square feet, and at least according to the property assessor's tax records, the existing house is only 870. So between these things, I think this request would be incompatible with other properties in the area and would diminish the value of my property and the value of others.
Any questions? Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Public hearing. If you'll come forward, please.
I'm David Garvin, and I own the farm to the right up there that's green, and that's the house. I don't live in the house now, but this here has been in our family about 100 years. And so I realize all of this over here. And I know the hole has been over there, and it's got water in it, and it's always had water in it. What concerns me, and I won't get into the variance like Mr. Burns did on that. I don't need to get into that. What I'm worried about is the septic as much as anything, because on mine, that land won't perk out there, period. Because I've got 2 field lines on mine right now. Because when I redid the house, Daddy built the house in '64 and put the old septic tank system in there, and we had to redo that. I use that as a secondary. So that's the only way. Now, when this was before Mr. Rich bought the property, the other people that was there, they never had a septic tank. It ran straight out on the ground. And I'd call, this is back in the 60s, early 60s, and this hole would get full of water, not out in front, there's one in back, and the kids would take bath in all this junk out there. And that's what I'm concerned about, is the septic tank as much as anything, and I just don't want to get into that other, because
You're concerned about
whether it'll perk or
it
not.
getting into the water system out
Yeah.
there? Okay.
Yeah, because
Contamination.
in the summertime, you can smell it.
Okay.
Now, it may not be that way now, but I did talk to, Danielle told me, I went over there and talked to the septic tank people, and they're going to go out and look at it themselves, so y'all can get to go to that, because I'm concerned about all this sludge that gets out on the ground.
Thank you.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
thank you.
Anyone else? Close the public hearing. Any further discussion?
Chairman, I'll make a motion that we deny the request.
Wait just a minute. Commissioner, did you want to speak? I did. Well, if you'll come up here, please.
Look at that picture, the next house up the hill is where I was raised. So I know this place very well. Know Mr. Rich's family, know Mr. Garvin's family. We grew up together, of course he's a little bit older than me. But these are all friends. Mr. Burns is a new friend that's moved in. And the only thing that I wanted to say, Mr. Rich is kind of at a loss to answer some of your questions. I know he has actually cleaned this place up and made it look nice. I think all of us agree on that. He's done a really good job of it. There is a problem with that hole in water there, and I think he's trying to address that. And that's what I wanted to point out. This man's working to make it a better place. I think Gary had a good idea with your suggestion a while ago, and I'm not saying one way or the other whether you guys ought to approve this as a variance. I am concerned that there may be problems with the sewer system, and that definitely needs to be checked out. And I see Tanya sitting here, so I know it's going to be, if it hadn't already, on your list. But I know that Mr. Rich does not want those kind of problems. He actually he told me that the sewer smell that was mentioned by Mr. Garvin, he had a tenant there in the house that had poured grease in his drains, had blocked his drains. Anyway, there was a sewer smell. He went in, cleaned it out, explained to the guy, said, hey, you can't do this. Anyway, that's what he was actually wanting to say something to you, and I was telling him, you'll get your chance, and you moved quicker than I thought you were going to, so I apologize for coming up a little bit late. But at any rate, I just wanted to straighten that out for him. I don't think he had anything other to say other than that about the sewer. Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate you,
All right,
Commissioner
thank you,
Peete.
guys.
Go ahead. You may have a question here for you.
Yeah, whether he puts the unit in that location, it makes a self-created hardship, which puts us in a bind to approving it. But if he can prove that he has a hardship, so what would be wrong with us tabling this for a month until he gets the information, then we find out if he has a hardship where he needs to put that trailer where it's at.
Well, what are you calling a hardship?
Well, for setbacks and stuff, if he don't have to put the trailer there, he has to put it where setbacks and things are correct.
I understand that. Or you're saying a hardship of the location?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with that if these guys don't. Now, that's just going to mean an extra trip back up here for them. But, well, you know, here's the thing I'll say to Mr. Garvin, and he can put this on that property under the current rules without coming up here. You know, he wanted to do it so that his residence would be up to where the other septic system is located. As I very well remember the other structure that there was a single wide trailer. But two, that's a blind hill. You really didn't see much from the pictures there, but that's a steep hill. And if you got a driveway right there, I mean, every time you pull out, you're putting your life at risk. I mean, it's hard on that curve. There's been numerous wrecks right in there. So, you know, that's something that I didn't like when the trailer was where it was in the past, which is right at the top of the hill, but out of sight when you top that hill.
That's why I brought it up a while ago, that get with planning, get with TDEC, you know, and see if there's a way he can actually relocate it where you won't even have to come back up here.
Well, this man's clearly trying to help his family out, and to me, that's what all of us should be doing. But anyway, he doesn't need to inconvenience his neighbors. You know, I'd like for him to talk to them some too and see if they can't come to an agreement.
We commend him for helping his son out, but just like Jerry said, I mean, our hands are tied if it doesn't meet the regulations and it's self-inflicted, you know.
I understand. And I think he does too. You know, he was trying to avoid having to pump uphill to that second sewer system. But like I said, I assume codes will check on those systems and make sure they are working adequately.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think we've got a good idea here. You know, the problem that I have with this, I don't have the problem with it being there, but contamination of groundwater is a real problem, and I think we need to look at that long and hard. Do you have some information on this?
I do. If this does get approved, before Mr. Rich can be issued a building permit, we will require the septic system to be verified that it is a functioning system. If a system has not been used within the last 36 months, it is our policy to require a third-party inspection or an inspection from TDEC to verify that the system functions before we issue a building permit. So that will be checked.
Any questions? Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing. Have a motion on it.
We're going to make two motions.
Go ahead. Just combine them.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve for the ADU. That's my motion. We'd have to have a different motion if you want to combine the setbacks.
Okay, you want a separate for the setback. Okay. Do we have a second to that? Approval of AUD. Is that right? Died because of a lack of a second.
understand what you just said. I can't get around the self-inflicted of him putting it, asking for the variance. And, I mean, he could move it and fix the problem. And if he would work with TDEC and find out where this thing needs to go, you know, where it's gonna perk or whatever, and take care of the groundwater issues, I just think you know, so I'll make a motion, we deny the request based on it doesn't meet our guidelines.
Say that again.
I'm sorry.
I make a motion that we deny the request
Denied because of the guidelines.
because of our guidelines.
Okay, can I get some clarification? Deny the request for special exception for an accessory dwelling unit, or deny the request for the variance? 'Cause we're gonna-
Variance.
For the variance?
Variance.
Okay, he's making a
Got that?
motion to
She's
recommend-
writing all this down,
Okay.
so make sure she has it right. It's denied
This was
because,
my confusion. Is he denying are we denying the whole thing, or are we denying the location?
Okay,
I'm denying the location.
Exactly. Second.
I'll second that.
If I may, just to make sure it's clear from the record, because you're going to have another motion following this, and that may further confuse things. So it may be more appropriate to do a combined motion for this particular request, whereby you're motioning to approve the ADU, but you're denying the request for the variance. And if that were to pass, he'd be able to place an ADU on his property within the confines of the existing setbacks.
we got a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Got a second? All right. You're all right.
I know about Mark, but
I don't know if that's what Mr. Farley wants to do, but if I think what I try to do is get the language of what your intent was for your motion.
so in the motion to approve the ADU, along with denying the setback variance in the same motion,
Correct.
I'll add that to my motion.
I'll second that.
okay.
Got that?
Yes, sir.
Hold up a second.
Second.
Hold up a second. We got a second.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve the special exception request for an accessory dwelling unit, and a motion with a recommendation of denial for the variance. Gary Farley, and seconded by Sartain. Okay.
Okay. Now, are you ready to call the roll?
Yes.
All right, we're going to call the roll now.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown, Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis. Yes. Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The next item we have is a request by Francisco Guerrero, who is requesting a special exemption for establishment of a major business. This is a commercial concrete business. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2020-005 is request for special exception approval for the establishment of a major home-based business involving a commercial concrete business upon a property located in the RM zone. The property is 11.80 acres, and it's located at 546 Mount Herman Road, which is the primary residence of the applicant. Mr. Guerrero would like to operate his concrete business from his home site. The location of the business is located towards the back of the property. This is a result of a code enforcement complaint, and Mr. Guerrero was contacted by code enforcement due to the appearance of business activities taking place on the site. Since then, he has worked with code enforcement to clean up a portion of the site, and he has indicated a desire to continue to operate his concrete business from his home. He would like to store in the structure located towards the back of the property 2 one-ton trucks, a mini excavator, a bobcat, and concrete forms will take place, that storage will take place outdoor and within the large detached accessory structure constructed towards the back of the property. This portion of the property is accessed through Jake's Road, and so he's got public right-of-way towards Jake's Road, and he's got an additional driveway to access the rear of his property. We've not received any calls in opposition to this request. We have received informational calls, and Mr. Garrow's been very cooperative with staff by applying and coming in and meeting with staff to determine what steps he needs to take to remedy the code enforcement action. So this is the principal residence. And you can see that he's going to have some employee parking towards the back of the property. This is the structure that's used for the business, and his residence is located at the front of Mount Herman Road. And you have a variety of uses along Mount Herman Road, and he is adjacent to an industrial zoning district. And then you have the junkyard, auto yard, towards the south direction, that's also zoned industrial. And so that completes our comments.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Speak to the
Good
microphone.
afternoon.
Give us your name.
Francisco. I'm living in 546 Mount Herman Road in Murfreesboro. So my question is that I still keep doing what I'm doing over there, or I need to be cancel the whole thing and move somewhere else?
Have you been operating there before?
I got about 3 years already.
How long?
3 years already.
3 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you not think that you needed a permit to operate there?
Yes, I do.
Jerry, go ahead.
Can you tell me more about your business? What do you store there? Do concrete trucks come and wash out there?
Oh, no. No, we basically do, the concrete work. We just ordering the concrete for the concrete plants. So now it's pretty much wood, bobcat, and a mini X.
So there's no
It's not
no
in-
waste that's brought there?
No, no washout, nothing like that. We just ordering all materials like rebar, concrete. We just call to the plants and order from there.
Amber?
Can you tell me about the traffic with your customers, or just with the nature of business you have? Because it's been brought to someone's attention, so I'm assuming that may be because of the traffic. So if you can share on that.
Right, well, we don't have any customers coming through there. There's only 2 trucks get in and get out every day. Just 2 employees, they come in every day. The customers, really, we got an office somewhere else. And right now, you pretty much receive everything by email, you know what I mean? It's all bids that we done, we just receive it by the email, and we just send it back, and it's not any customers coming to the place.
Joe, go ahead.
How many employees, how many vehicles are parked out there?
2. 2, maximum 3.
And then you have your excavator and your
And the
other
Bobcat.
truck? Okay.
Renee?
Do you have any prospects for expansion? Are you going to add any more buildings to the property? Building anything else to add to it?
Nothing else. That is the bigger that we have to go right there, not any bigger.
And you live right there, the residence
Right.
there. You do live right there.
On the front, by Herman
You know
Road.
why someone might have called in and brought that to the county's attention, since it seems to be such a quiet business?
Well, really, we got a new neighbor coming to that place. The problem that we might have is right there by the house. We got 2 trailers, big trailers, and I got like a little bit of metal right there, but I'm just waiting to this weather give us some time to move all that stuff out of that place.
Like
Yeah,
an
right.
18-wheeler trailers that
Right.
you have there? 2 of them, you said?
2 of those.
And what are in those?
Those right there, we got like, the stuff that not can get wet, like the plywood.
Storing plywood?
Yeah.
And you said you do have another building, though, that you do rebar and you store all that stuff in.
Really, I don't have that building. We just call to these places, they sell all that stuff, and they take it straight to the job sites.
Okay. And you never have to bring anything back?
No,
No waste materials, no
No.
garbage?
no, nothing like that. Soon we get done with the jobs, we got a dumpsters on the job sites, and we throw away all that trash and all that. We just bring it like 2x4s, and maybe like a 2-foot panels of plywood. It's pretty much what you can use at the next job.
You do most of your work away from the site, is that
Right.
correct?
Right.
All of it, most of it, all of it? Gary?
My question is going to be for the codes director. The complaint that came in, the information that was given, has all that information been addressed, and have they took care of the situation?
It's my understanding that the initial complaint came into planning, that Danielle received the initial complaint. Did you, Danielle?
I did, and I think they further spoke with code enforcement, and a lot of the debris and things that I guess were brought to the neighbor's attention. I understand that he's cleaned a lot of what was located towards the front of the property up. Is that correct? Okay, this is code enforcement.
This is Courtney, the zoning enforcement inspector from my office.
So I've actually been working with Mr. Guerrero. He's been great. He came right into our office. The complaint we received was actually on some storage closer to his home. When I went out on the property, I didn't see his business at all in the back, to be completely honest with you. So we actually received complaints on the trailers, as he said, and he did inform me that's not even actually storage for his business, it's for someone else. So, I didn't get any complaints about the roads being dirty, anything like that. It was just a little open storage of materials that aren't even related to his business.
So all that's been addressed then? Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated.
All right.
Okay. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
Motion to approve,
Second.
as
Have a
long as it's
motion
in
to be approved.
compliance with the 2 sections listed.
Okay, and a second. Any further discussion? Call a roll, please. I'm sorry, you're not ready for it, are you?
I'm good. Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown, Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The next item we have is a request by Clara Tidwell, who is requesting a special exemption approval for a single-wide mobile home. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2020-006 involves the property located at 2933 Factory Road, and Ms. Tidwell's requesting special exception approval for the establishment of a single-wide mobile home on a lot measuring less than 5 acres in area in the RM zoning district. And as you can see, this is the property located at 2933, and in February, Ms. Tidwell's home was destroyed by fire, and currently she is residing with a neighbor who is helping her out until she can get reestablished in her own home. She has located a single-wide that fits within her budget that she would like to place on the home and on the property in the location of the double-wide that was previously located on the site. Her property is .89 acres, and county zoning ordinance requires a minimum of 5 acres for the establishment of a single-wide. And so Ms. Tidwell was advised that she would need special exception approval, and due to some of the recent events that have occurred in Middle Tennessee lately, her urgency has become somewhat of an emergency to go ahead and get into a single wide that fits within her budget because of the price fluctuations that they've encountered. the prices have been changing from what she was originally told when she initially inquired about the cost of the home. And so Ms. Tidwell is here tonight. We did post a sign on the property, and I understand that they have also spoken with some neighbors regarding the establishment of the single wide. That concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request to come around, please?
How are y'all doing? I'm Jason Wisdom. I'm speaking on behalf of Ms. Tidwell. Danielle pretty well summed it up very well. February 13th, she lost her home. Her home was destroyed at 10:30 at night. She was still in the home. I lived directly next door to her, and my dogs barking got me up, and I realized what was going on and went down and pulled her out of her house. She had a double wide there. It's been there for years, 40 plus years. That's originally what she wanted to do, was put a double wide back. Due to her financial situation, she can't afford it, and at her age and her income, she can't get a mortgage.
Have you found a mobile home for
We
her?
have.
Will you help put it in? Yeah. Okay. And you had a fire there and burned out, right? Yeah, completely gone. Do we have any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
It's my understanding is from Danielle that maybe some price gouging, being that the tornadoes and stuff have been going on. What I would advise you, the Consumer Affairs Office is in the State Attorney General's office. I would file a complaint. They'll investigate it. If someone is actually doing price gouging, they'll render the situation. So that's some friendly advice that I'd like to give you.
Definitely going on. We were recommended to several, well, 3 different companies through the Red Cross that they deal with specifically, and they told us to go and check with them and get prices, and 2 out of those were double the price. We went to Cookville, found some, the exact same builder, the exact same home for half the price. I'm talking about $30,000 price difference.
And also, after this is over with, the manufactured housing section falls under my office at the state of Tennessee. And as far as installation and stuff, I'll give you my card. If you have any problems with it being installed or anything like that, you can give me a call personally.
Got a good proposal there. Okay. Any other comments? Bill, do you have? Okay. Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Commissioner?
Well, y'all haven't seen much of me in the last year or two, but when you bring out 3 items from my district, you're apt to see me. The main thing I wanted to say is I want to recommend that you approve this for Ms. Tidwell. I know she's worked with the county mayor. I think he may have something to say himself, but I want to thank you for saving this lady's life, first of all. But 2, I want to thank Mr. Cantrell for actually putting this on the agenda for us, and we appreciate it, and I highly recommend that you approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. We're glad to help anyway. Mayor Ketron, come around. We're always good to hear from you. You're on the other end of this thing. You're usually up here.
Absolutely. Thank you, members of the BZA. Thank you for letting me speak. This fine lady, Ms. Tidwell, came into my office day before yesterday. Never met her. With her fine neighbor, and I want to say congratulations to you personally on behalf of the citizens for saving this lady's life. She's 84 years old, and my heart went out to them because she has moved in with her neighbor until they can find something. And Mr. Farley, I agree with you. If there's price gouging going on, which it looks like because of the tornado. That needs to be stopped. We don't need that. But I think this is, thank you for putting her on the agenda, because the gentleman, I think in Cookville, said it's first come, first served because of the tornado. Everybody's house has been destroyed, so he's in business to sell, and he's going to sell it when he can. She put $100 down on the one, I believe, in McMinnville, but he can only hold it for 2 weeks. And so based on your all's calendar, waiting to the next scheduled BZA meeting, I made the request to the BZA to put it on your calendar when I called you, Mr. Chairman. So I thank you for putting it on there for your consideration today. Thank you.
Well, these are unusual times right now. Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to be approved. Have a second.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Amber Brown. Yes. Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Zane Cantrell.
Yes. That is all on our agenda. We appreciate everyone being here. I hope it's been a learning experience for all of us anytime we meet. So we are adjourned.